Hello to my beautiful family of light. Yes, that means you. And by now, you know that I mean that. My name is Claudia, and I want to welcome you to my channel. So in this particular episode, several things occur. I'm 42, and it's March of 1993. The prior year, in January, my mother passed, and I took her to the other side. That was a whole new illumination and expansion of awareness. And of course, then we buried her, tried to bury her ashes, but she spit them all back in our faces. I thought it was humorous. Everybody else was sort of just cringing and dying, but it was typical of Mom. Anyhow. And then in May, the end of May of that year, my dad drove over from the West Coast. A brother came up with his son and a dying brother to meet up with Dad, so Dad could take him back to the West Coast to finish his work here. And my brothers, that is. And so this now is been from the end of May, I'll just say the 1st of June, to March of 93. I've been just staying put, doing my work at my job and waiting to hear and keeping in touch with the family. So end of March, I get a call from my dad. Yes, he is in hospice now, and it's getting close, and he said, you need to come. And so I just immediately packed up and left and went. Now, I don't really need to tell you about death. If you want to know, you can go back to my video of Mom. I'll post a link of her passage. It's me taking her to the other side. And I'm not a stranger to death by then. My grandfather, my mother, an older brother, and now my younger brother. So of a family of 10, 3 are passing. My grandfather, my mother's dad. Okay, so that makes 4. But anyhow, I get home and see this brother that I adore. He is typically so full of life, singer, songwriter, entertainer, and just the most energetic, enthusiastic, and happy person who spent really an awful lot of the last 6 years of his life in sitting with dying individuals whose families had closed the door on them, and that just touched his heart, and he didn't want them to be alone. So there's compassion, tremendous amount of compassion in him. So I tend to him, and he is so happy to see me. And on that first day when I stood in the door, and I was shocked because he was 6 foot, almost 6'2", and down to 64, 65 pounds. He was just practically nothing. But he was able, with assistance, to get propped up and hold his arms out to me. And once I got over there, sobbing, I was a mess at that point, which is not typical for me. But he just kept repeating over and over again, I'm so happy you made it. I was afraid you weren't going to get here, and I have so much to tell you, and I love you so much, and I'm so glad you made it. And that just kept fueling my tears. I was kind of a mess. Once we got over that and he was back down and resting, then there were 3 or 4 of us who took shifts in watching over him for the next few days till his passage. And on the second day that I was there, a window was open to let in that sea breeze that is so lovely. And at one point I got a little bit of a chill, and I got up to close it a bit, and I heard him with really soft voice saying, please don't close it. And I went back to him and stuck the covers up a little, and I said, how come? And he said, because when it's time for me to go, I don't want anything in my way. And I'd never heard that, and it was very poignant for me to understand that he needed an escape route. So that was kind of lesson number one for me. There were things I was not aware of people feeling at death. On the fourth day, he passed in the morning. Might have been, I think, before noon. Might have been in the afternoon. I can't recall exactly. But the hospice nurse had been there. Of course, she called for the coroner and there's all kinds of stuff going on when there's a death. And I didn't really, you're in the background. You're just kind of watching what's going on. But that afternoon, late afternoon, close to evening, I went out onto the beach and sat with a brother and his wife who were finishing up a Catholic rosary. And at the end of that, and I was just quiet, but he took my hand. And he said, I want to tell you something. And I said, I was listening. And he told me a story about how he had been sitting with our brother, and a light shone brightly. And he thought it was the sun shining in the window, is what I wrote down. I think the story is going to vary from this a bit because it's secondhand and I can't remember everything. But anyhow, a light shone, and he said he thought it was the sun, and it was getting brighter. And he said, and then he followed it up, and he could see the Virgin Mary, Jesus' mother, and our mom. And Mother Mary said to the brother who had been praying so diligently, what she said was, don't worry, I'm coming for this child myself. And that eased his mind, gave him peace, and did the same for me. What I learned from this, and I don't really need to tell you all about all the rest of the stuff. There's a service in a few days and all of those kinds of things. But what I learned during my 6 or 7 day stay was that others were having experiences and feelings that were unfamiliar to them too. And in this awakening for me, I realized I knew nothing. I know nothing even today. I'm about to start my 74th year, so we're talking 30 years later. That as much as I have learned and grown and experienced in this amount of time, I still don't know much. There's so much that happens when we have it. I'm going to call this really my true spiritual awakening for me is the expansion of what that means. We all have to have our own experience of the divine in order to understand what our spirit is and how it speaks to us and what it's doing for us and how it's nudging and encouraging us. We all have to have a start somewhere, and mine was these, massive, big experiences, and then lots of it didn't seem like much in between. But as I look back on it, and that's going to be my next episode, I will shift into gears here in a minute and go on to that. But for me, that was the beginning the true beginning of my real, honest to goodness questioning of what it means to encounter the spirit more fully. So I want to thank you for joining me for this episode and this experience. There's not a lot in here because it left me, as I go into the next episode, it leaves me with so many questions, and that's where I will explore some of that more fully, and then what happens to me to nudge me along in the next episode. So until then, I want you to know I love you this much. This is me loving you this much. These arms go all around this planet. Be good stewards of each other. There's no, in unconditional love, there are no conditions. So love each other, take good care, be good stewards of each other and this planet. And until I see you again, what you can do for me is like and subscribe. Those are the things that help to get information out so that others may be triggered something inside that says something's going on and I don't know what it is. So maybe it will help and get the information out. Thank you for joining me, and until the next time I see you in a video, be well, stay safe, be happy, and know that you are truly more than you think you are. Thank you.